We were a good Christian family. And one thing that I always prayed, but always scared me to pray, was that God would use me in a way to further His kingdom. That's a dangerous prayer because you have to give Him the reins, let Him take control of it.
Life was pretty chaotic. We had a 2-month-old and a 2-year-old.
We were just busy with day-to-day living life.
Fun and a little bit crazy, but it was great.
It was a Thursday afternoon. I was working on the job site finishing up, and I just had this cough that came that was just deep and aggressive and just did not quit. It all came pretty sudden and pretty quick.
Within a week, Robbie was in the ICU.
I remember the last thing to her I said was, "I love you, don't worry, I'm gonna be okay." And I didn't quite realize it would be, months before I would see her again.
And that was pretty much the beginning of the worst months of our lives. I couldn't even go visit him at the hospital for 21 days. So basically we would spend days outside the hospital just praying.
I do know at one point a nurse came in, and she was a nurse that was instrumental in taking care of me, and she gave me a prep talk.
So the first day I got to take care of Robbie was his day 11, and it was a night shift. He was on CPAP. He was maxed out on his oxygen at this point. We were doing what we could to help him stay relaxed. He was so tired, he could hardly breathe. The mask was doing a lot of work for him, and sat down with him at the edge of his bed. I pulled up a chair and just took the time to talk to him. I noticed a care package. There was a letter from Ashley, of course, a toy car from Duke, their son, and then pictures of his family. And so we sat there together and we went through all that. The last thing, I think the most important thing in that care package, was looking at the pictures that Ashley sent of their cute little family. And I just remember telling Robbie, I said, we were looking at those photos, I said, "You have such a long road ahead of you." And I said, "It's going to be hard, it's going to be lonely, but this is the reason you can't give up your family." I just asked if I could pray with him, but we just asked God to breathe air into his lungs, to heal his body, and to just continue to be with him and hopefully take all of his fears and anxiety away. This day was one of the days when it started to get fuzzy for him.
I kind of blacked out from that point forward.
They decided to change one of his medications by just turning it off. It was his paralytic, and he crashed. His oxygen plummeted. And the doctor walked in the room and he basically told me, "Robbie will die today. And if he doesn't die today, he will die tomorrow." So we brought the entire family into the hospital and we surrounded his bed and we prayed for 8 hours straight. And we watched his oxygen go from the 60s up to the 70s to the 80s. And it took hours, but he got there.
Day in and day out, they never lost hope. They were so faithful in their prayer, and they went through so much pain and so much affliction during the time that Robbie was in the hospital.
Faith was the only thing we could cling to at that point. It was not just because we were good Christians, it was because we were desperate. We had nothing else. And, we were on our knees begging the Lord to just save him because we truly had nothing else to give him. And why are we going through this? Please, Lord, we'll use whatever you give us for good. Just let him live. That's all we had left.
Just the power of prayer and hearing about everyone that was praying for me and stuff like that, I'd say that's one of the most amazing parts of the whole thing.
I think that I learned really from God is just to trust in him and never lose hope, and he will be with you through the end, which is exactly what he did.
And it wasn't an easy journey after that, but he got better. So after 106 days, he was able to come home. There's nothing that's impossible with God. I went to school as a nurse. I have a lot of scientific background. I think that there's a lot that can be said about miracles and prayer.
I know that there are people praying for Robbie probably nearly 24/7, 24 hours a day, and it showed. Robbie is a God-given miracle, and I know that there was a lot of people that were unsure of what the outcome was going to be, but definitely I think that good things can happen when you trust God, and God works through the nurses and God works through the doctors, and miracles can happen.
It shocks me, like what he's gone through. His lungs have collapsed 7 times. Countless times he's been told, well, you're just gonna have to deal with whatever you have left. But yet he continued to just improve. And there was no other way to describe it other than the Lord intervening for him.
Just be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And I truly think that that is what they did throughout the entire time. They trusted God. They never lost hope. And that's what I would tell anybody going through something like this is trust God to do what we know he can do.
You know, a story like mine with thousands of people rallying behind me in prayer, people taking care of my family members, my kids and stuff like that. Like, it's something that is beautiful.
In desperation, God is there. When you are at your lowest point, God is there. And you just need to, hour by hour, day by day, take it as that. God gives you this hour. What are you going to do with it? You can choose to make the most of it. You can choose to lean on the people around you. You can lean on your faith. And even when it's hard, you have the strength because God gave it to you to get through it.